2022, with a call for a strict respect of barrier measures against our COVID-19, students were also told to be vigilant and disciplined. In this edition of Newscast, we take you to other regions or paint the ambience in schools across all the 10 regions in Cameroon. And separatists and fighters in Balinyonga have demanded the moderator of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon, the Right Reverend Funky Samuel, to resign. And with an ever-increasing population and a corresponding increase in the demand for food crops, farmers in Cameroon have resorted to abuses, use of chemical fertilizers. Those were major stories. The details right ahead. With an ever-increasing population and a corresponding increase in the demand for food crops, farmers in Cameroon have resorted to the abusive use of chemical fertilizers. Experts warn of this phenomenon stands as a major threat to the environment and human health. As we hear in this report with Regina Leketandak.
Fertilizers are natural or artificial substances containing the chemical elements that improve growth and productiveness of plants. They enhance the natural fertility of the soil or replace the chemical elements taken from the soil by previous crops. Fertilizers contain plant nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. From tomatoes to vegetables, maize, and other food crops, there has been an exponential rise in the use of chemical fertilizers to grow these local staples in Cameroon. Farmers attempt to meet the demand of a growing market.
The quick nutrients available through chemical fertilizer make it easier for farmers to easily pick that, compared to organic fertilizer, which is relatively expensive if you want to buy. And if you want to create your own compost, it takes time. And sometimes the process is kind of difficult and it might be really frustrating. And also, the limited availability of land for farming also make fallow period kind of really limited.
They may be fast-acting and affordable, but the overuse of chemical fertilizers and the poor utilization knowledge on the part of farmers has potentials of harming the soil.
Most of the farmers that are using chemical fertilizer do not have the right education. You will agree with me that more than 90%, I would say, of farmers using chemical fertilizer cannot read nor write. So they want to go with a directive of the person selling it to them. Now, this brings into play a lot of consequences that may arise. And if there is misapplication, we've also seen cases where we have a lot of food poisoning.
The use of excessive quantity of synthetic fertilizers are harmful not just to the soil, but for human health. They contaminate the surface water via runoffs with attendant consequences. High levels of nitrates and nitrates in chemical fertilizers may cause some diseases like hemoglobin disorders, Alzheimer's disease, and diabetes mellitus, to name this. High time, thus, for effective education on the application of chemical fertilizers.
Separatist fighters in Balinyonga in the northwest region of Cameroon have demanded that the moderator of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon, the Right Reverend Samuel Funky, to resign. In a widely circulated audio, the members of the armed groups have accused the moderator and the pastor of the Tanfuak parish for lie-telling and for trying to conceal the right identity of those who rained bullets on the church from 2 weeks ago. More in this story with Regina Leketandak.
A Sunday without church service at the Tanfuak parish of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon, Balinyonga, northwest region of Cameroon. Christians kept away following threats from separatist fighters who are said to have banned all activities of that religious institution in the subdivision. In an audio message spread on social media, the Buffaloes of Balinyonga are demanding the resignation of the PCC moderator, Reverend Funky Samuel, and the parish pastor of the congregation that was attacked 2 weeks ago. The armed group is accusing the senior church officials of concealing information relating to the real identity of those who attacked Christians in full prayer session 2 weeks ago. If the moderator's communique on the incident failed to clearly state the authors, then the pronouncement of the parish pastor, himself one of the victims, was highly awaited last Saturday when he mounted the pulpit at the funeral service of the lady killed.
Because a man who was also down, shot by the gun, and I fell down, I couldn't see the details of the things as they went. I want, as pastor of this congregation, with a heavy heart, to pass a message of condolence to the family and to tell all Christians not to be afraid.
It was after he too did not clearly name the attackers many say were men in military attire that the voice message suddenly surfaced. He, however, announced the financial support of the moderator to the bereaved family.
The moderator has not only sent the message of condolence, but he has sent a token to support the funeral.
It is here in Balinyonga in the Mezam division of the Northwest region, Christian missionaries set up the first ever congregation of the Basel Mission on grassfield land of Cameroon, a reason why the PCC, as it is known today, has vested interest in primary, secondary and university levels as well as in arts and crafts.
And we stay in the northwest region of Cameroon, but this time around to talk about a back to school which has not been effective this September 6, 2021, being a Monday, which is a traditional ghost town day. In most part of the region, the streets have been completely deserted, void of movements of persons and transportation, which are supposed to guarantee school activities. All hopes are geared towards tomorrow, Tuesday, given all still date. All separatist groups have maintained still lives over any break. I'll come back to that in a subsequent editions of our newscast. We talk on back to school and we take you to the Central region where classes were effective this September 6, 2021. The governor of the Central region went around some schools to check on the effectiveness of classes. As we hear the following story with Beatrice Ngamu.
Warm welcome given the governor by the pupils of this primary school in Yaoundé. From assembly grounds, Governor Nasiri Paul Biya moved to the classrooms. He starts with the little friends in the nursery section. Unfortunately, it was break time. Packs open on the tables, water bottles following. From these young ones, he went to the other classrooms. Brief exchange to instill hope of a bright future, successful academic year, with aspiration of becoming governors, ministers in future, to the applause of the visitors. Words and gestes of encouragement, the ambience in the different classrooms. Mission of Central Regional Governor Nasiri Paul Biya to some educational institutions here in Yaoundé, this first day of the academic year.
So I'm visibly satisfied to notice that school started effectively. Students, the teachers and the administrative staff, they are all there present today. And we want to encourage the teachers and the learners to start the academic year with all its vigor and encourage them to continue in this line.
And since schools are resuming within the COVID-19 pandemic era, the respect of barrier measures, the words he left in all the establishments.
The nursery classes don't wear masks, which is not compulsory. But in the other classes, we have asked them to make sure that the students wear their mask every day while coming to school, because Corona is not yet over. All the barrier measures have to be respected.
Schools have resumed this Monday, but to say all children have effectively gone for lessons, still early to conclude, as registration, acquisition of school manuals like uniform, still the process around town.
It was a similar exercise carried out by the governor of the Littoral region this September 6 as he went around schools to check on how effective were classes this September 6, 2021. The governor of the Littoral region called on students to be vigilant, disciplined, and to respect barrier measures against COVID-19. More in the following story.
In this Form 1 classroom at Government High School Dido, Littoral Governor exchanges with students on the disciplinary attitude to uphold both in school and in their neighborhoods.
Okay, thank you. And the last one.
Arson is being placed on barrier measures against COVID-19, especially as a third wave is already circulating in Cameroon. Armed with their face mask and sitting 2 per bench, students are receiving lectures on the first day of classes for the 2021-2022 academic year.
As we have seen today, school resumes effectively, and we have seen that our children are aware of the governmental measures against COVID-19, and we are asking them to be vigilant, to be disciplined, so that they can succeed by being disciplined from the first day.
From Government High School Jos to Government Technical School Kumasi, Government High School Dido, Government High School Makepe, and College Loria, it was the same message to students, particularly those of examination classes and Form 1 students embracing the 4 walls of a secondary school for the first time. In some schools, we met students blocked out of the gate either because they came late or could not master their program of the day, especially as most schools are implementing the shift system to bar the way against COVID-19.
Back to school has been effective in other parts of the country, just like Douala, but in Yaoundé, some schools started classes at exactly 7 a.m. The first pupils in primary schools going to school for the first time, and those in Form 1 were excited, as we hear in this story with Hyson Cha.
High influx into the different school gates on this first day of school resumption at the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. Here we are at the government primary school Etudi, and the pupils massively answered present for the 7 a.m. morning devotion. A moment for teachers to recall some basic principles to guide the kids as they embark on the new school year. Immediate kick-off of lessons, with teachers revising some key concepts and carrying out a diagnostic evaluation of the pupils. At the government bilingual primary school Bastos complex, it was equally a smooth takeoff, with all the groups plunging into serious work on day 1.
We have had a very successful resumption today, and this seems to be one of the best resumption because we've had more than 75% of the pupils present. All the teachers are there, and lessons began today. The takeoff is very encouraging.
Though the pressure from parents during the morning hours was quite huge, but school administrators limited entry into the school campus to avoid unnecessary disturbances at this starting point.
We had to put everything in place to ensure that the children are in class, they are studying, the teachers are teaching, and therefore the parents don't have a place any longer to come in. We did say the parents should come maybe after classes must have been fully taking place. They can come maybe next week and not this week.
The school heads equally continue to emphasize on the respect of barrier measures against the COVID-19 pandemic.
And that report brings us to the end of this edition of Newscast on Canal International. Thanks so much for watching. We have the brief coming up at exactly 6:30 and the news in the French language at exactly 7:30. As for me, I'll be back tomorrow, same time. Have a nice day in the company of our programs.
International.